The Chicago Bulls start a 2-game road trip and will start their play in the NBA Cup. Can the Bulls start having some success in these areas? We're going to talk about all and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And with that, let's get started ourselves. The Chicago Bulls start off a 2-game road stretch today. And a matter of fact, the Bulls, out of their next 5 games, 4 of those games are on the road for the Chicago Bulls. So this could be an important stretch for the Bulls. And, you know, they start off this 2-game road stretch with the New York Knicks today going down in New York. And then we face the Cavaliers in Cleveland on Friday. That Friday game actually starts the Chicago Bulls NBA Cup play officially as well. Talk a little bit about that in the second segment of this episode. But this is an important stretch for the Bulls. When you look at the Bulls' last really 3 games, they've been really identified by fourth quarters in a lot of ways. The fourth quarter against the Minnesota Timberwolves, in which the Chicago Bulls gave up 45 points in that fourth quarter. You then look at it in the flip side of that against the Atlanta Hawks, where the Bulls scored, I think, 35 points, only gave up 15 points in the fourth quarter against the Hawks, where they were able to get a win. And then against the Cleveland Cavaliers, where really in the second half of that game was kind of more the third quarter for sure, but the Bulls did lose that fourth quarter by 3 points. Made a lot of mistakes, key turnovers down the stretch of that game as well against that Cleveland Cavaliers team. So the Bulls now, with 2 games on the road, have an opportunity, especially against a New York Knicks team that's at 500 so far this season, to really kind of take advantage of some things. And that's really what you want to look at for the Bulls. It's all about rhythm, right? This is a team that I thought coming into the season was going to have some struggle winning games because of the learning how to win aspect of things, right? As far as you lost your best clutch player last year, one of the best clutch players in the NBA, in DeMar DeRozan, and just how DeMar and his ability to get to the free throw line, to get tough buckets in the fourth quarter really helped the Bulls win a lot of games. 26 of the Bulls' 39 wins last season were in the clutch, right? So those things all play a part into that for sure. And so you really want to see this Bulls team use these 2 games on the road if they can get some rhythm here on the road. And I'm not saying that it's going to turn the Bulls season around where all of a sudden they're going to be looked to win a lot more games, right? I'm not saying that at all, but you just want to see some solid play from this team and how they're learning from some of the mistakes that they've been making over the beginning of the season. And a lot of it comes down to fourth quarters. Right now, slow starts were kind of the story for the Bulls to start the season, right? But now it's been really about fourth quarters. And while the Bulls still are getting out to deficits, right, they're able to they've been marching back. We got out to a 10-point deficit even against that Cavaliers team in I think the first or second quarter. We were able to come and march right back. So the slow starts have started to go in the right direction. Still a little bit slower than you want, right? But they've been able to match some intensity. Now it's all about the fourth quarters, right? And so that's just something that's indicative of a young team that you have a lot of players that haven't necessarily had to be rely on a lot in the clutch, right? We know Zach LaVine, his clutch situation, and what has happened there over the course of his career in fourth quarters. Kobe White was a really big clutch performer for the Bulls last year, but the Bulls still went to DeMar DeRozan more times than Kobe White. Giddey played on the team with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's never really been relied on in the fourth other than to create open shots. Vooch, Patrick, you definitely don't want to rely on Patrick Williams in the clutch. Like, let's just be clear there, right? So this is a team that's still learning what it takes to win close basketball games. And I do think these games coming up against the Chicago Bulls, they have the chance to be in. We already competed really well with Cleveland, even though Cleveland has the best record in the NBA right now, and they've earned that with their 2-way play. But the New York Knicks are definitely a team that the Bulls can compete with. It's how you have to do your execution throughout a total 4 quarters is extremely important for a team like this. The Bulls have a very small margin of error. Right? It is what it is. Yes, we play a high pace. Yes, we're getting up more threes. Yeah, we're one of the best rebounding teams in the league, but it still leaves for a very small margin of error for a team that just defensively is god awful, right? And the Bulls defense holds them a lot back. And that's really what fourth quarters come about. Like when the game is on the line, when things get tough, you need either that second gear to go into defensively, or you need to execute so well on the offensive side of the ball that it puts pressure on the other team. And so the Bulls, with being as bad as they have been defensively at this early part of the season, leave a lot to be desired as far as that margin for error. So, that's something that the Bulls are going to have to learn how to play with. You look at our upcoming opponents. We got New York, Cleveland, Houston, Detroit, Milwaukee, Atlanta. That takes us to next Friday, right? Those are all games except the Milwaukee games, and the Bulls could realistically lose. So, the Bulls have already had a 4-game stretch losing streak on this season. That you don't want to start another one, especially not this early into the season. So, being the road warriors for the Bulls is going to have to be something that they have to identify, because they don't play a lot of home games in the first part of this season. Really, the Bulls don't get their first long home stretch until the middle of January. It's the middle of January, right? That's before the Bulls have a 4-game home stretch. They just it's crazy, honestly, how the schedule fell out for the Bulls. But the schedule is the schedule, and you got to learn how to adapt. And so through this 2-game road stretch for the Bulls, they keep trying to find that identity. And I'm sorry, playing fast but turning the ball over a lot, that's not an identity. At least it's not a good identity, at least, right? So Bulls are still looking for that. They're still trying to find that edge. They're still trying to lock into a play style. Hell, we haven't even locked into rotations. We haven't done that consistently. So the Bulls have to find that way. And sometimes being on the road does help forge that, if that makes sense, right? Is that having a lot of games on the road to start the season, not having a lot of home cooking, not having a 3-game home stretch until the middle of January, all these things can help this Bulls team get over the hump, right? As far as just understanding what all goes into winning a basketball game, right? When you're on the road and you're not playing a lot at home, you're not getting that home crowd, you're not getting the refs on your side. So, this could end up working out for the Bulls as far as maybe in the longevity of things. But the Bulls still got to figure some stuff out seriously, man. Let's see. We got some comments here. Theo, 3&D says, Grand Risings, appreciate midweek morning stream analysis and insight of the first 10 games. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Easy Cook says they just got to stop them. Easy to say, but they have the best pace in the league, so you're burning one side of the candle. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? It's playing, and I appreciate watching the Chicago Bulls play basketball. Like Zach Lowe, he described it as eating a full pack of Starburst. And when he initially said that, I'm like, where's Zach Lowe going with this? He's like, yeah, it's great when you're doing it, right? You're going to have some really good times. You're going to run into the occasional orange Starburst where you're like, what is this? But then afterwards, you kind of still left with an empty feeling because you just ate a bunch of candy and you didn't really get anything of substance, right? So a fast pace is fun. And I think that's, you could be, and that's the fun bad nature of this team, right? It's fun to watch a fast-paced offense. It's fun to watch a team get out in transition, get shots up and things like that, but you need more substance. And that's what the Bulls are lacking right now, is substance in their play style. They got the fun locked down, right? They're getting up the threes. They got that. But the substance is missing there for the Bulls. And as long as this is a team that just plays fast but turns the ball over like crazy, gives up almost 60 points per game in the paint, as long as that keeps being the identity of this Chicago Bulls team, it's going to be that lack of substance for the entire year. It's just going to be a fun team to watch that when the season's all said and done, we look back and we say, what did we really accomplish? Right. And now hopefully some development is part of that. That can add some substance to it. If you see the necessary development from Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry, hopefully Modest Bucilis at some point, Kobe and Io, right? That you see some development, Josh Giddey, that you see some development. But overall, I fear that we're going to look back at the season. We're going to have a lot of fun watching these games, a lot of fun losing, but we're not really going to get anything out of it. And I tell you what, if we also finish this playing fast and having fun, but we finish it without a top 10 pick, that's going to really make it an empty season. What are we doing at that point, right? If this Bulls team, and I keep saying that, I know that Bulls fans want to see this Bulls team compete. I understand that. But if we make the play-in, which we're not going to win a playoff series, but I'm going to still say it, and don't win a playoff series, don't really make any forward progression because we've been in the play-in the last, 2 years? and we miss out on keeping our top 10 pick, what was the purpose of this season? You better hope that the development that you saw from Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry turns them into borderline starters for you, because at that point, I can tell you what, that's a waste of a season. I know not everybody's going to agree with me on that, but that's just how I see it. Like, what did you really gain at that point? What did you really gain? And that's the question that the Chicago Bulls have to ask themselves and try to find along this process. But another thing that the Bulls can have some fun in is the NBA Cup. And I'm actually probably going to surprise some people, because I think the Bulls are going to fare better in the NBA Cup than what some people are giving them credit. We're going to talk about that, but first we got to get into the message from one of our sponsors, and that is FanDuel. Get ready to take on the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And FanDuel is giving you all the tools you need to make a smart bet at that, with giving you all the latest stats, play-by-play, everything you need to make an informed bet right at the same place where you can actually place your bets. So it's giving you a leg up on a lot of other places. You don't have to go to 5 different sites to try to gain all your information. You can get it all on FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Bulls fans, man. Thank you guys. You already know for tuning in. We are free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice. So make sure you guys are supporting us there as well. But let's get into it, man. I want to talk about the NBA Cup just a little bit. Like, most will remember, if you guys have been watching Locked On Bulls or even Chicago Bulls Central for a while, I was not somebody who was excited about the NBA Cup at all. The Emirates Cup, whatever you want to call it, I was not excited about it at all. I thought it was a waste of time. I didn't think it was going to be anything that was worth it. But then when as this tournament went on, you started seeing teams actually compete in this tournament, right? It always goes back to the game that we faced off against the Boston Celtics, where they were trying to run up the score. And Joe Mazzulla looked at Billy Donovan. He's like, well, points matter in this NBA Cup. And that's when I realized, like, teams are really taking this NBA Cup thing seriously. And then you got to the knockout rounds, where it got even more exciting at that point in time. So when it comes down to it, I think the NBA Cup it's turned into something that's worth watching. But I think the fact that they made the games part of the regular season games, where it still plays in to your standings for the rest of the season, it helped that a lot too. But I just something I wasn't necessarily excited about. Now the Bulls are in the C group in the East, and so that puts us in there with Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, the Wizards, and us, the Chicago Bulls, as the 5th team in that group. And so one would say, Haize, why do you have you alluded to you having a little bit of confidence in this NBA Cup, and we're in there with Boston and Cleveland? And you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And here's the thing that I'm going to tell you guys. We just have to advance as a wild card. We don't need to win the group. And I think that when you look at this team, especially when you look at the Hawks and the Wizards, these are 2 teams that I'm not worried about the Bulls being able to compete with. We can compete with the Atlanta Hawks. We can compete with the Washington Wizards. I'm not saying that we're just going to march in there and completely and utterly kill them, but we can compete with those teams. And I think when you pair that as well, like, we played Cleveland pretty close, right? All the Bulls need to do is surprise one of Boston or one of Cleveland one time. Just one time is all you need to do. One time. That's all you got to do. Can you get one of the games from Cleveland, one of the games from Boston, and then if you can beat Atlanta and beat Washington, you can absolutely advance to the knockout round. Now, I'm not saying that I'm picking the Bulls to win the NBA Cup. No, I'm not crazy. I'm a fan. I'm not stupid, right? So, no, I'm not picking the Bulls to win the NBA Cup, but I do think that the Bulls can use the NBA Cup to find some rhythm. That's the biggest thing here, and that's what I'm looking for to benefit from the Chicago Bulls team, is finding the rhythm in the NBA Cup, meaning that you're gonna face off a condensed amount of in a condensed time. Keep in mind, the Emirates Cup play is only from November 12th until December 3rd, which is 2 days before my birthday, right? That's where the group play happens. At that point, you move on to the semifinals. So in a condensed amount of time, you're going to play Atlanta, you're going to play Washington, you're going to play Cleveland again, you're going to face Boston. You can beat Atlanta, you can beat Washington. You've competed with Cleveland already. If you can just get one of those, you can advance to the wild card. And that's what and again, even if they don't, right? It's measuring yourself up against the level of competition. That's what it's also about in this case. So over the next 2 weeks, basically, the Bulls are going to be able to face off a nice mix of competition, and it's going to have a little bit of more umph to those games because, again, the NBA Cup, teams came to play. So we'll see what happens there, man. I think the Cup's going to be overall. We saw Cup play start last night. Those games were fun, really fun, actually. So, we'll see what the Bulls can do in that, man. Rob, it says, and then they start what their record is in the NBA Cup, and they'll add those 2 games during the week like they did with adding the Spurs in the 3rd game last year. Yes. So you are right, is that if we don't advance, we'll get 2 games. I think it's 2 games added back to our schedule. And so, yeah, you can look out for that one. Sean says, I think what frustrates me is I've watched the Thunder, Pistons, and even the Hawks, who beat the Celtics last night, young core play and see them develop as they get more playing time, and I just wonder. I mean, that's always the balance, right? And that's the thing that I'll give some credit to for Billy Donovan, because I tell you what, he's playing Dalen and Julian more than what I expected him to play. He's actually given them time to learn on the fly. Modest Bucilis, I would love to see you be getting more minutes. That's just where I stand. I'm always going to say that. I would love to see Modest get a little bit more minutes on this team because I think his development is key to you. And we'll see if that comes out. But there's no reason to me that Talen Horton-Tucker should be averaging 10.5 minutes and Modest Bucilis is having difficulty getting over 5. I just don't think that that's the case. I don't think that should be the case is what I should say. Hovind says, I think the Bulls could do it. After watching the game with the Cavs, if they play the same way and limit their turnovers, they get a win against either Boston or the Cavs. We'll see, though. Agree. That's all you got to do is split one of the games with Boston and Cleveland. And limiting turnovers is a huge part of that. It's a huge part of that. If you can limit those turnovers, it gets you to a place. And we got to talk about it as well. Like, the Bulls turnovers, like even Lonzo. I know Lonzo's only played in 3 games, but let's just talk about some of the Bulls who have crazy assist to turnover ratios. Talen Horton-Tucker is averaging 4 more turnovers than he is assists. Lonzo Ball is averaging the same amount of turnovers basically than he is assists. That's not good yet, right? Ayo Dosunmu, his assist to turnover ratio is 3-1. Not good there. We got way too many players on the wrong side of this assist to turnover ratio. Way too many on that. How can the Bulls improve the defense of the starting 5? You can't. I mean, unless you're going to make a change to that starting lineup by either sitting Josh Giddey or sitting Kobe White and starting Ayo in the place of one of those 2 guys. That's really the only way that you can realistically make a change to the starting 5 defense. Now, you don't necessarily have to make a change to that. You just got to balance out the minutes a little bit more. But I did cover that today over on Chicago Bulls Central. So if you kind of want an in-depth kind of answer on that, where I go over a lot of the analytics, go over to Chicago Bulls Central, shameless plug, where I went over. It was a very heavy analytical episode today on Chicago Bulls Central, but people have been enjoying that. So go over there and look at that. But to get it back here, just to end this one, you have to find your rhythm. And I think every team has a rhythm. The Brooklyn Nets are in a rhythm, right? Despite all the expectations for that team to absolutely suck this season, they have found their rhythm as a team. They've found their balance as a team. Balance and rhythm. That is a great, that's how you, despite what your talent would tell you, despite what the expectations coming into the season would be, if you can find balance and rhythm, you can be a team that can surprise some people, right? And I think the Brooklyn Nets are a perfect example of that. Like, the Brooklyn Nets are 5-6 on the year. I don't know if I thought that the Brooklyn Nets would have 5 wins by the end of December coming into the season, but they've done it. Dennis Schroeder's playing amazing, right? Cam Thomas isn't just jacking up shots like I thought he would. He's actually playing. They have a system, right? Hey, they're doing really good down there. They're doing really good down there, man. I gotta love what as a basketball fan, I love what the Brooklyn Nets are doing down there. But all right, y'all. So we're gonna finish this episode and talking about a trade rumor report, whatever you want to call it. This one's coming from Bleacher Report. We're gonna get into that, but first, we got to get into a message from another one of our sponsors, and that one is Mint Mobile. With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. So say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, Bulls fans. You know what's funny to me about the Bulls season so far? Not that the play of Zach LaVine is funny, but it's funny to see a lot of the outlets that were previously reporting that Zach LaVine had no trade value, the Bulls would have to give up a first-round pick if they want to trade Zach LaVine, are now starting to change their tune just a bit. And one of the latest outlets to do that is Bleacher Report. Bleacher Report was going through one trade idea for each team, and this one they gave what I honestly think would be a solid deal for Zach LaVine. And it's much better than anything we heard that the Bulls could get last season. Now, like I say with everything, take this with a grain of salt. In no way is this even presented it as this is a deal that's offered or a deal that the Magic have put out on the table. But this is a deal trading Torrey Craig and Zach LaVine to the Orlando Magic in exchange for Cole Anthony, Jonathan Isaac, Tristan da Silva, a 2025 first-round pick that's top 5 protected through 2027, and then turns into 2 second-rounders if not conveyed. Now, is this equal value for Zach? No, because guess what? The contract's still a thing. Injuries are still a thing, even despite Zach LaVine's great play, great two-way play so far this season. But in this deal, you're getting Jonathan Isaac, who could slate in as your starting power forward, right? Especially for those my Bulls fans that aren't happy with Patrick Williams. He's probably even better defender than Patrick Williams, and he's on a contract that I think ends in a little while, right? You get Cole Anthony, neither here nor there on Cole Anthony. But what I really like about this trade more than any of the other players, I love Tristan da Silva in this trade because Tristan da Silva is another guy who's shaping up to be one of those versatile forwards that has tremendous upside, a little bit older as a rookie. If you guys remember me and Pat's draft coverage, we were really high on Tristan da Silva. I think Tristan da Silva can have a Jaime Jaquez type impact depending on the team that he's on. And so really solid, youngest player there who fits your timeline. Yes, he's older as a rookie, but he's the 18th overall pick in this last draft. And you get a chance at a pick that's top 5 protected. And I tell you what, it doesn't seem like the Orlando Magic are going to fall out the top 5 anytime soon. So that pick has a really good chance to convey as well for the Chicago Bulls. I like this deal. Do I love this deal? No. But I don't think there's going to be a deal that I'm head over heels about when it comes to Zach LaVine, especially while Zach LaVine is playing this way. But if you can get an additional pick in this year's draft, in 2025 draft, which is a draft where you can still get some really good talent even later in the draft, I think that paired with Tristan da Silva, you almost have to take that deal. That's my personal opinion. I'm not saying it's a great deal. I'm not saying it's a perfect deal. It's a solid deal. Very solid. And it's probably the best deal that we've heard for Zach LaVine in probably the last 3 to 5 months. So, the Bulls There's no rush. This deal could not go through before January 6th anyway, because Tristan da Silva is a rookie. He can't be traded until the 6th of January. But it gives you a lot of time to continue seeing how Zach LaVine's going to play. And I think that, it is what it is. Now, I agree. Zach LaVine is probably most likely going to stay as of right now, right? I don't think that the Bulls get the home run deal that it seems like AK is waiting for in the Zach LaVine trade. But I do think that if we're starting to see deals get back favorable in the sense that the Bulls are getting first-round picks, because keep in mind, a lot of last season, the Bulls were giving up first-round picks, even though it was protected, like the Portland pick or whatever. If you're getting back a first-round pick, especially if it's in this draft, if you're going to move Zach, if this front office is committed to just saying we got to come out of the season with Zach LaVine and Vooch being off our roster, this is an okay enough deal. It's solid enough. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not underwhelmed. I'm just whelmed. And I think that may be, it's a good basis, right? If this is one of the offers that you're getting and other teams are calling, it sets a tone of, we need a first-round pick. We're getting offered a first-round pick. Give us a first-round pick. I'm not necessarily mad at that. I'm not necessarily mad at that at all, man. But all right, y'all, I still appreciate you guys so much for everything that you guys have been doing and supporting this channel. Make sure you guys also go to lockedondaily.com, because your favorite Chicago Bulls podcast has a new daily newsletter written by me. You guys just got to go to lockedondaily.com, sign up for the Locked On Bulls daily newsletter, where I'll be dropping a newsletter in your inbox every single day. Get a double dose of Haize, a triple dose if you're also a subscriber to Chicago Bulls Central. But all right, y'all, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me personally at CEO Haize, and I'll see you guys tonight after the game, where we'll be live. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See Red, y'all. Peace.